Okay, welcome everyone. Nice to see you here at our PowerWeb Lunch Lecture Series, which I have the pleasure to coordinate and moderate. Before introducing today's speakers, let me give a brief introduction about what PowerWeb is for those who are joining for the first time. I know that there are a few, at least. So PowerWeb is a cross-faculty institute at TU Delft, which means it's a place where we collaborate between different faculties, not just electrical engineering, but also mechanical engineering, industrial design, technology policy management, and a few more, with the goal of supporting the design of intelligent, integrated, and inclusive energy systems, the kind of systems we need for the energy transition. And with today's topic, we're going to dive deeper into the inclusivity aspect under the umbrella topic of energy hubs, on which we have already had a lecture last month, and we'll have another one next month. In fact, there's a lot of talking about energy hubs, and that's great. But when we try to move from theory to practice and talk to the actual people that are supposed to live and interact with these energy hubs, challenges arise. And so today we have two amazing speakers to talk about this. We have Professor Abhikan Singh from the Faculty of Industrial Design and Gijs van Leuven, a researcher in the same group, who have been working on a real-life project attempting to set up an energy hub in the city of Amsterdam. So without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to our very welcome speakers. If you have questions, please save those for the Q&A session at the end. And so please, Abi, Gijs, educate us and entertain us with your lecture. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to present the work we have been doing, and thanks for being here to hear a part of the story on the project which we have been working on for past 4 years. I'm Abhikan Singh. I'm an assistant professor in Human-Centered Design Department of Faculty of Industrial Design Engineering, and I'm also a research fellow at AMS Institute. And Gijs is a PhD candidate who has done wonderful work in this project and is finishing soon. So we both are going to present at least the part which we have been involved with. The content of this presentation will cover three. So I'll give a very short overview of the LIFE project, which is the basis for the topic which we are covering around inclusivity and energy hubs. Then Gijs will present about the research activities in the LIFE project, which we have been shaping and have been part of. And then later, after that, I'll zoom out and give some reflections and recommendations. And we have tried to, because this is quite an interdisciplinary project, and also here we see there are people from various different backgrounds. So we have tried to keep this presentation very jargon-free, try to, as much as it is possible, use language which can be probably appeal to practitioners and also to students and researchers from different disciplines. So let me just jump in very quickly to give an overview of LIFE project. So LIFE stands for Local Inclusive Future Energy City Platform Project. It started in 2021 and ended in March 2025. While the project has ended, but we are still going through a lot of data analysis and writing about it and thinking about it and reflecting on the data. So for us, it's still an ongoing process. It's located in Amsterdam Arena Port area. You see where the field site of this project is. We have Johan Cruyff Arena, the big football stadium. We have Amsterdam Bijlmer Arena train station. We have on this side, if you see on the train station, we have really big commercial complexes, commercial street. And on the back side of it, there is something, a neighborhood called Wensenpolder, where people who live also in social housing are present there. And interestingly, LIFE project combines this whole area or focuses on energy transition of this area. This is a project which is in partnership of 12 public and private partners. We have Johan Cruyff Arena, Alliander, AMS Institute, Coforce, which is a Stichting involved, City of Amsterdam, Spectral, an energy company, TU Delft, 3 different faculties of TU Delft are involved in it, and Utrecht University. And so it has been quite an interdisciplinary collaboration. What essentially LIFE project focuses on is focusing at the district scale, where there are projects which are looking into the national level. Then there are energy projects which looks into at the scale of buildings. But this district scale is where the LIFE project focuses on, and it is at basically looking into the challenge of grid congestion, which is becoming increasingly a big issue in Netherlands, and how that can be addressed at the local level, at this neighborhood, at the district level, and how this collectively, sustainably, locally, different actors, stakeholders can come together to address this issue of grid congestion. But as the title also suggests, which is inclusivity is part of it. So one of the ambition of the project has been is to not just do it to address the technical challenge, but also address the social challenge of inclusivity. As I already mentioned, there is a neighborhood where people are who are suffering from various type of socioeconomic challenges, and that neighborhood is also part of this LIFE project. So one of the things which LIFE project emphasizes and tries to focus on is local energy community participation, how that could happen, how these different stakeholders can be involved to address this issue of congestion. On the other hand, the project aimed at energy planning, where energy hub as a concept became popular. And then there is another goal of short-term net congestion, where Johan Cruyff Arena has a big battery and how it can be used to address some immediate challenges. So these were three broad ambitions. And our work have been primarily into the area of local energy community participation, how these social actors, citizens, what their roles could be and how they could be involved in this project and in energy transition in general. Just a quick glance, the kind of approach or the research approach which we take, it's called design anthropology. It's a sub-discipline which is emerging, which combines anthropology. Anthropology is a discipline like psychology, sociology, which looks into what it means to be human in society. And so it looks into social behaviors and what humans do and how they engage with each other to address a challenge. On the other hand, we combine that with design, which is looking into future on how these emerging challenges society is facing, how they can be addressed, how this creativity and experimentation could help to address and understand those challenges. So what we essentially do is in our work, we explore human and social perspective of energy transition in a broad sense through ethnography. Ethnography is an approach which means that we go and be in the neighborhoods. Instead of seeing things from the top or from a distance, we actually embed ourselves in the neighborhood, try to observe what people are doing what they're speaking about energy, how they are engaging, and utilize that to construct knowledge. So we generate knowledge by taking action as an intervening in real context as a way to understand. And our approach is experimental, it's iterative, and a lot of co-creation, which is co-creating with different type of stakeholders who are involved in a challenge is the way to go forward. So the neighborhood where we in our part of engagement in LIFE project we focus on is called Wensenpolder, where around 4,500 households are present. There are 17 large homeowners association, which includes some houses which are owned by people, but then also where people are renting or living in social housing. Interestingly, this is also an area which is quite diverse. 70% of non-European migrant people live in this area in terms of demography. And this is also an area where energy poverty is a big issue. And related to that, various socioeconomic challenges inhabitants face. So I'll pass on to Gijs, who will now dive into the project and activities which we did.
Yeah, so indeed, I will give an overview of the different kinds of activities that we conducted in kind of, a little bit fast pace, hopefully, to cover as much as possible. So first, I will describe the process we went through within the consortium, where we worked with all the different universities and the municipality and the other partners to come to a collective vision of this local energy system. So what we did is we tried to create an integrated approach, multidisciplinary. We had engineers from this faculty, designers, social scientists from Utrecht. All we had to come together in one single vision. So the initial focus of the project was quite weighted towards technology and focusing on developing technological innovations and tools to reduce the congestion problem. And this was related to things like peer-to-peer trading, local energy markets. Some of you may be familiar with these. What we realized, though, in the beginning is that this idea was not really well aligned with the local stakeholder needs. And as we started talking with the businesses and with the residents, we learned that, hey, there's something missing here in this purely technology-focused approach. And so we went through a process with the partners and we reframed the focus to include a more aspects of social organization, collaboration, and local governance. And that is how we arrived at the idea of the Energy Hub and also the Energy Cooperative, which I will talk about in a minute. And that was not part of the initial project plan. So this was really a part of the experimental approach we took that we arrived at this idea. So what we did very practically, we had workshops of various kinds. Here you see us working with the various project partners using various kinds of design methods. We focused also on the battery of the Johan Cruyff Arena. So the battery is quite large. It's about 9 megawatts a battery now. It's very large. So we had several workshops around what could be the use case for this battery to either provide new types of energy services to local stakeholders and the energy system, as well as reduce the congestion. And based on these workshops, what basically the idea was how can we figure out how to get from this current situation. So this is an overview of the area where you could say this is the area where the businesses are located, and there are already some businesses with solar panels, battery storage, other energy assets. And then there is the neighborhood, and the neighborhood, Vensterpolder, they did not have any energy assets. They did not have any solar panels, nor energy storage. And well, to be any kind of participant in new energy services or new energy systems, having some kind of energy asset is a prerequisite. So this was, a challenge we ran into pretty quickly. And then, of course, there's the threat of grid congestion. So the question is, how can we get from this situation to this situation, an ideal future vision where the neighborhood can have access to their own energy assets, which they can use however they see fit, and all the energy assets in the area, in the neighborhood, as well as the commercial area can be interconnected and operated in an optimized way, so that consumption and generation of energy is matched locally, so that we reduce the congestion on the grid and perhaps also reduce the energy bill, increase new partnership opportunities. So this was the vision, let's say, for the project. So from the different workshops, we identified a number of value flows. So this includes, first of all, mechanisms of value creation. So if we can reduce congestion, that means that perhaps we can reduce the investments needed to reinforce the electricity grid. There might be revenues from energy markets by using the assets to trade on those markets. There might be possible to support the capacity building in the neighborhood of Vensterpolder by allowing people to work together in a better way and strengthening the local social networks. So there's a number of these mechanisms we identified. We also identified mechanisms for value distribution and exchange. So one significant challenge for the project is that, well, the neighborhood, they're dealing with energy poverty. They don't have any spare funds to invest in new assets, whereas the businesses, they have more capacity to do so. So how can we, in keeping in mind principles of energy justice, for example, is there a way to redistribute some of those revenues from the businesses to the households? Of course, with the consent of the businesses, we're not imposing anything, but this is something that was discussed, as well as a few other mechanisms. We also, and then in the end, we arrived at value propositions for local governance. So can we create a local structure, an organizational structure for collaboration between all the stakeholders, between the businesses, between the residents, where value can be exchanged, whether it's energy, financial value, and there can be space for collective decision making. So we then used these value flows and mapped them on a roadmap to see how can these different, where are we now and how do we get to the end, and what is the first step we have to take, and how do we take from one step to another. And I will not go into detail because that will take too much time, but went through a process of seeing how can one thing reinforce another, and what are all the different steps that different stakeholders would have to take in this entire process for years to come. And you can see this goes well beyond the end of the project of 2025, because the congestion problem in this area is is there for at least another 5 years. So the project really focused on how can it continue, because it's not done yet. The energy hub is not fully there yet. I will already give you that spoiler, because it's a very slow process, and the congestion problem is a long-term problem. So it's a lot of preparatory work. Yeah, this is just another version of the roadmap, but I will continue for now. Okay, so what is then in the end this congestion problem and the energy hub? How does it address the congestion problem? And also, besides the energy hub, we also worked on an energy cooperative for the neighborhood. So the energy hub is more focused on the companies in the area around the Arenaport stadium, the Johan Cruijff Arena stadium. And the energy cooperative is more for the residents. So how that works, I will get to in a minute. This is an overview of the grid topology in the area. So it's really about the substation here, which is the high voltage grid connecting point. And everything that's underneath there is relevant for this project, because the substation is the place where congestion is happening. And that's where, there's an urgent congestion problem for another number of years. And then also we looked at the congestion, and this is something that mostly our colleagues did at this faculty and other faculties. Congestion at the local transformer level between the medium voltage and low voltage grid. And we specifically looked for the neighborhood of Wenselpolder. If they in the future they want to electrify their heating systems, like everyone has to do in the Netherlands in some time, will there be any congestion problems? And can we already anticipate what kind of solution we can devise for those problems right now, so that the neighborhood does not run into those problems much later? So the energy hub, as I mentioned, the energy hub really covers the whole area underneath the substation. So all the companies that are in the whole area, it's quite a large area, they can participate in the energy hub. And the way that it works is not primarily through new technological innovations, but it's really a contractual change or innovation. So the idea is to use group contracts with a grid operator. And I will not go into detail because it will take, it will be too much time, but it's really about matching or gaining insight in the current and future energy use patterns of all the big companies in the area. Johan Cruijff Arena, Ziggo Dome, there's a shopping mall. Smart Mobility Hub is a new organization that is starting up there that uses a lot of energy. And the question is, how can they all shift their energy use patterns in such a way that we reduce the peaks? This is how it works, but I unfortunately don't have time to go into the details. Then the energy cooperative is for Wenselpolder. And this is also a local organization that is intended to create space for local ownership of energy assets and decision making. So the first step will be to explore, is it possible to install solar roofs so that people have their own generation. And then further steps could be to see how that solar production can be either stored in local storage systems, or that there can be incentive for behavior change so that the solar energy can be used right away when it's generated, so that the energy is used locally. And also, and perhaps even more importantly, the energy cooperative would provide will strengthen the negotiation position for the residents because they have a collective voice in the energy transition. And that is really important, and that they can have more control over what happens in their neighborhood. This is the shows the congestion scenarios which I mentioned for the electrification of heating. And in the neighborhood, there was an analysis that was done in the project. And what you see is that these are 3 scenarios, where the first scenario shows a scenario where each apartment has their own individual heat pump that they control individually. The second scenario has a collective heat pump for each apartment building. And the third scenario has a collective heating system with thermal energy storage for the whole neighborhood. And what you see is that the collective system has much lower risk of congestion than the individual system. So that means there's an incentive, not just for socially, but also for the infrastructure and the congestion problem to create a collective solution in the neighborhood. And that is how we how we can see that there's a connection between inclusivity and participation, and the participation of citizens in the energy transition and the infrastructure. Okay, and then lastly, I will go through very quickly through mentioning what did we do to go then into the neighborhood with these ideas and try and involve people in the process of actually setting up this energy cooperative. So we did this in very close collaboration with local partners. So Stichting Coforce, they were the main facilitator for this. We took several years to organize a lot of sessions, inviting people, talking about these things. And you can imagine this, topics are pretty complex, and a lot of people are, they're not even interested in energy transition, or they're not aware of what is going on. And so, it's really a question of having these conversations over and over again, slowly building trust, and listening also to how people, how they see what is happening in their neighborhood and what they would like to see for the future. So we did various things. We went onto the streets, and various opportunities, and tried to really speak to as many people as possible. We used Lego to make it more tangible. So we made a little setup of the kind of the area, and using also these kind of little Lego blocks to show the profiles of energy and how they can be matched, and to really try and make it as understandable and simple as possible for the people coming to these events. And this is some idea of how it could end up, that you have an energy community in the neighborhood and that is generating energy, and that energy can then be delivered to local residents, to local schools, local businesses, but it can maybe also be exchanged with the companies in the arena port. So for example, maybe there could be a connection with the battery of the Johan Cruyff Arena. Would be super interesting. Unfortunately, the legal barriers are still very tough, so that is not something you can easily do, that you can say, well, we store the energy from the energy community in the battery during the day, and then we get it back during the night. We're not quite there yet. Right now we are here, that we have a pioneer group of residents that want to take the project further, and we're still exploring how we can continue to support them, because it's the project is over, but it's not. The complexity and the topic is such that people would like there to be continued involvement, and the question is how that can be organized. Okay, now I'm going to finish up. So in the end, there's 3. I want to finish up with this 3 models, 3 options for a future model for how this energy hub and energy cooperative could work together. So in this option is more aligned with the original idea of the project, where it's focused on technological innovations and not really focused on social organization or local governance, besides maybe getting connected to a new energy system in a technological way. The second model would be that you create one organization for the whole area that you have, where you include the companies and the residents in one kind of governance structure. Well, that's turned out to be infeasible because these areas are too different. The companies did not see there's no interest for them to be in the same organization as the residents. and the residents also would like to have their own ownership over their own area without the businesses being involved. So then the third model is what we ended up with, that we get two separate organizations, the Energy Cooperative and the Energy Hub, and they can have some interaction or collaboration between them, basically. So yeah, okay, and we'll skip this and then go back to.
Yeah. So now zooming out from what we did, we are trying. I'm just trying to give a glimpse of what our reflections and recommendations which came out from this work. And these are not all, these are just few which we are presenting here. So one is that in the scenario which the project or this area is moving, where there are two different organizations. One is Energy Hub, which is catering to the businesses, and Energy Cooperative, which has a very social feel, aiming towards the neighborhood. But then one of the things which often gets missed is that these two institutions have very different power to begin with. Like, for instance, actors involved in Energy Hub, they are oriented towards value of bringing financial benefit. They have resources, capacities, capabilities. Many of them have their own energy transition team, which is looking into, and when they participate in energy market, they know how to engage and what does it mean to be a actor in that market. So they have the know-how. On the other hand, these are the new actors who will eventually become an energy actor. Like, the neighborhood does not have all these resources, so they have to first have these infrastructure, but also they don't have right now the capacities. People are busy with their own life and they have to take up a new role. They also don't have the capabilities. And so this is an important aspect which needs to be thought about. And if this has to go forward, then we feel that this should be something very acutely considered. The second is that these new actors, like for instance, the Energy Cooperative being formed, these are primarily made by citizens who are everyday people having their life. Now, when they become under an umbrella of an energy cooperative, they become an energy actor in a local energy market. But then we have to really give attention to their needs and skills, values, and also the risk, not just the financial, but the social risk. How would they be able to do this? What type of different, would they be exposed to a market where they could be taken advantage of? So what can checks and balances be put in place, especially focusing on these new energy actors? One thing which we realized right from the beginning, and we still continue, that for us researchers, we feel energy transition and grid congestion as something, as a concept which everyone understands. But then that's not the case. It's absolutely meaningless to many people whom we meet. And it's really important to, first of all, we want people to participate in a problem of congestion which they don't understand. So we have to first take a step to make it understandable to people and make it meaningful. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Then also what we see is that Wenceswolder is often referred to in various reports as a development neighborhood, which even to begin with is quite alienating. People have lived there, they have spent their childhood, they have beautiful memories of it, and they don't want it to be labeled as an area which needs support from outside, even without realizing that this is one of the steps. When you begin with, it pushes people away. It's a big challenge for participation of people. They don't want to participate if you come up with that type of framing. Then the other aspect is, right now what is happening in Energy Hub, it is heavily focusing on ideas of or technical infrastructure, or what are the financial use case or benefits of it. But what it essentially misses is that if energy hubs and energy cooperative, they have to, as a concept, they have to be accepted in society. It needs a whole social infrastructure at the local level for people to participate, to engage. They are early adopters, but then if it has to grow, then more people have to come in, and it has to look into what are these relational or social infrastructure which is needed and how we can build that. Otherwise, this idea of energy hub and cooperatives in such a fashion may not sustain. The other big challenge which we see, or we have been, that while research agendas and what city, municipality, and businesses are interested in are these long-term vision, which infrastructural changes and addressing these research agenda. But when you go and meet people and speak with them, they are they are struggling with their everyday challenges. Like, for instance, we were talking about initially about peer-to-peer energy and energy sharing, energy trading, while people see they need renovation, they need better insulation from the wind. So how would such projects, which are actually engaging and trying to impact people, address this? And this is something which is quite important. We feel that while we should have a vision towards a future which will be there or may not be there in 10 or 15 years, but we should not ignore the urgent, immediate needs of people and somehow find ways that we can work with them. We can work and combine these two different ideas together. The other more strategic challenge which comes in with such projects and such type of research is that we start with a view that, oh, people have knowledge about their neighborhood and we should value that and we should give attention to that. But then the way the projects are structured, we don't keep budget to compensate them. So if we really acknowledge that they have something and they are expert of their own reality, then we should also give attention to and compensate for their time, effort, and expertise. And often it is what happens is that all the other researchers and businesses and people from the municipality, they are being paid as part of the project, while people who participate, we expect them to just do it on a voluntary basis. And this is a big challenge which has to be addressed structurally in the way how the funding is organized, by giving attention to and having people as researchers involved and also being compensated for their time and effort. That's something which we feel is important. And finally, one recommendation that in terms of participation, which often, like one of the things which we realize that we imagine that we have something, cool technology, we say, oh, this is innovative, energy innovation, come along with us and join in. That does not work in such areas. If we first of all, people are really busy with their own life, and you are asking them to spend more time where you are not even compensating them. On the other hand, we are asking them to giving them a kind of a guilt that, oh, if you're not participating, this is your neighborhood, and you will miss the boat, and your views will not be taken into account. Aren't we morally burdening people with something more who are really struggling with their life? Is that fair on our part to expect that from people? So the point is that not everyone can participate at the same level, which we researchers often anticipate. And it requires that we look into various ways or enable different ways how participation could happen, which is more fitting into people's life. Not everyone would be able to participate in interviews, but then could there be a way where somebody can just giving an opinion on a mobile phone once in a month is also considered as a valid participation? So these are some of the recommendations. What we are also going to soon launch is there is this kind of a brochure where we have put together the first version of these recommendations, which we have come out. There are around 40 of those. I think in this presentation, I just covered 10. And then there is a whole booklet which tells this story of what we have done and what this project wants to achieve and what this energy cooperative is in a very comic fashion, using a language which people can understand. So we will launch it, and probably through PowerWeb, you all will be able to hear and download these two publications. Yeah. This is it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot to you both. Brilliant presentation, many insightful and inspiring thoughts for reflection. I guess there are several questions, so let's open the floor to the questions. You can just raise your hand because we don't have enough microphones to go around. Yes.
Yeah, that is a good question, because that is one of the key points we've really encountered. There's a very big difference between the homeowners and the social housing tenants, the renters. The people who are, most of the people who are participating in this project, they are homeowners. They feel like they have ownership in their neighborhoods and over the building. That they think, well, they also have a direct voice in their homeowners association. They can vote, whereas the social housing tenants do not have that. And so many of the social housing tenants that we have spoken to, they say, well, this is something for the Social Housing Corporation. This is not something I have any influence over. And that's really a shame. And I think even in this project, it's it's too far away from the social housing tenants. We've not really been able to involve them. And I think for those groups, you really have to rely on the local partners, local community centers that you work with, because they know what is best for those people and they are closer to them. So then I think the best thing to do is that we support those community centers and those people, the key people in the neighborhood that are the community leaders, that they get the support and also the funding perhaps, so that they can help the most vulnerable groups, including social housing tenants.
If I may just quickly add, I think this is a very big challenge in a sense that we want like energy transition for all, but then the way it is structured, you have to have ownership of land or real estate to have a say in that. I think fundamentally we have to change that, and unless we change that, we will keep creating inequalities of people who don't own a house, own an apartment, will not have anything to do. So what we have been thinking about is what new other forms of values which people can bring and could be recognized and as a way to participate. Like somebody who is living in social housing can bring benefit to the neighborhood by doing something, like for instance, local repair. That could be a way to get them. But then this has just started, so we have not been able to say that that would this work. But we have just reached a point where we realize that this is a fundamental challenge which we have to address.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So that's we are now exploring with this pioneer group to get subsidy. And it's not just that people don't have the funding ready to invest. It's also that they don't know where to get subsidy, where to get a loan, perhaps, because there are actually a lot of opportunities. You can of course always go to the bank. You can go. There's various subsidies available from the municipality, from the province, but people need some help figuring out how does that work, where do you go, how do you apply for that, who's responsible. Right now, one challenge we are now having is that to get the subsidy from the province, there first needs to be a organization who can apply to get the subsidy, so that the organization is responsible and not an individual person. But then you need to first get the subsidy to pay the notary, so that you can found the organization. So those kind of things, and then it's really helpful to have someone at the municipality or another local organization that can help out. And that is part of the problem. Yeah.
Just to add to this, I think there are two, like if your question is that how would the capital cost of having this infrastructure be covered? So we have been in the project also looking into how, for instance, these big businesses there or institutions, they have, for instance, directive ESG, environmental social governance directive, where they have to show a contribution toward affected communities, so vicinity. So could there be a value flow which we could create where for the ESG contribution, they can invest, which this cooperative can use to acquire the infrastructure or assets. So that's one. We have been having conversations, but it has not led to something. There are various challenges to that. The second we were also thinking about is that Johan Cruyff Arena has solar panels, and they will soon, many of them will be off for their purposes. Could there be a circular solar panel use case here, where these solar panels, which are often sent back and to a company which repairs and put them back into the market, but they still could be used for the neighborhood? So could that be a way to address this? But this is also a very big structural question to address.
Over there.
That's a good question. I mean, one of the challenges is like you say, this kind of initiative works best if it's really people locally working together from a shared need and a shared concern, and say, okay, we're going to take care of it together. One challenge in this project is that in part, many of the ideas and the concepts still came from the top down, right? It came from the research and not from the people themselves. So we've been involved in this project of kind of see if people are interested in this, if they want to take up some of these ideas and do it themselves, because that is really the only way that it can really work. If people people think, well, this is about me, I want to make this my own, I want to do something about this, and it does not get pushed from researchers or the municipality. So yeah, that is the hope that something like that can happen. But that is in the end something, yeah, we cannot force, unfortunately. But we can support. Yeah, we're trying to figure out how can we support that kind of process. But that is, yeah, we're still on learning how that works.
Yeah, if I can just quickly respond to that, one of the things which is quite important, which I think we did not get to expand, is that once certain initiative starts happening, right now what happens is that, oh, this is an energy cooperative. In the same area, they are also struggling with something else. But then there will be a new institution, new ways, and new institution locally being created, which may often involve the same group of people. A kind of an integrated, a comprehensive approach could be useful, that if there is a certain mechanism, social structure, which starts engaging together, why should we just limit to just addressing energy issues, but why not other issues of poverty and health and whatnot, and vice versa? If in a neighborhood, if there is something which is happening on, for instance, urban gardening, could we actually extend that to utilize the same mechanism and the same people and their social relations and the trust which they have formed as an infrastructure to address or become part of energy cooperative? Easy said than done, but then that could be a way to also approach this, to go beyond just addressing energy of one challenge and ignoring the other.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Yeah, this kind of discussion has been quite central throughout the whole project. And yeah, how do you, address it? That's a very, if you have the answer, anyone has the answer, that's the $1 million, no, but yeah, part of the way that we try to address it is at least by raising the issue. So in the beginning of the project, we take for granted, okay, Johan Cruyff Arena as the lead partner, they have the big battery, they are kind of in control to what happens with that battery. They're going to trade on the market to make profit. It's all fine. But what about the neighborhood, right? So, and we really, yeah, part of what we try to do is just voice the voice of the people and say, hey, don't forget about them, right? And if you are going to make money from this project, why not reinvest some of it into the neighborhoods? And you can even report on your ESG findings. You also get benefits, pretty good. But the main thing is we don't forget about, and also to the municipality also has a big responsibility here. So we talk to the municipality, we go to people working there and say, hey, doing something in this neighborhood, starting an energy cooperative, it benefits your goals that you have for reducing CO2, for improving social cohesion in the city. So therefore, can you do a little bit extra as a municipality to support this group of people, because they are starting, from a low, they are starting a few steps backward, and that's not their fault. It's just because, the structural issues that are there. So it's just a matter of continually raising these issues again and again with the people that have the power to do something about it.
Yeah, so I think that's a very big issue. And the thing is that while we don't have how to address that, but what we have realized, and is an important point, is that this, like, if you look into the whole approach of energy hubs, that, even uncritically, imagining that creating a local energy market or different type of energy market is the way to go forward. But even to realize that energy markets by themselves would not be inclusive, and especially in this case, where there are new actors and there are traditional big actors, where the new actors do not have equal information, do not have equal capabilities and skills to make use of that information. So we are not creating a level playing field if we uncritically just say, oh, local energy market is the way to solve the challenge of grid congestion. So the direction is to look into these power differentials and carefully look into the why they are there, and then what checks and balances are needed in the system to address that, so that we actually enable a market which is kind of an equal playing field, or allows for these actors to also have a role there and have a otherwise this will not sustain from our point of view.
Super. I know that there are a few more questions, but for the sake of time, we're going to close the formal session now. You can always ask more questions informally in a few minutes. Thanks again to our speakers. Let's have a last applause. And before closing this session, you see that there are some posters here with some QR codes. This is for us to ask your opinion and help us improve. We keep trying to improve the quality of this lecture, so please give us your feedback. Thanks a lot.